We're rolling. We're starting.
Crescendoing over a century to a modern-day avalanche of hidden secrets.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My God.
We have things flying over military installations, and no one knows what it is.
It's not about little green men or flying saucers. It's about what are we spending all these millions and possibly billions of dollars on that these idiots tell us don't exist.
Disclosure should not depend on leaks. It should not depend on the public taking my word for it or anyone else's.
People are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. It's literally trending #1.
Is Steven Spielberg's new UFO blockbuster truly just a work of fiction?
David Koepp, screenwriter of Disclosure Day, you poured over Capitol Hill testimony on UAP hearings.
Rooted in reality. Or preparing us for what's to come.
Yes, I believe that it's true. The facts that are out there caught up with my movie.
In this NewsNation special, we'll share unseen moments from my landmark interviews.
Disclosure isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's not going to happen overnight. Disclosure isn't an event, it's a process.
A behind-the-scenes look at the set of Disclosure Day.
Trace the long history of UFO disclosure with the people and reporters who've catapulted the story forward.
It's Area 51 up there. Oh, there it is.
And track the action in Washington to bring this secret into the light.
We should have disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come.
Are you ready for a true Disclosure Day?
You must appreciate people watching this, hearing you talking about aliens, recovered craft, recovered bodies. It sounds crazy.
I'm not saying it doesn't sound crazy. What I'm saying is it's real.
In this special edition of Reality Check on NewsNation, Road to Disclosure.
Hi there, I'm Ross Coulthart, reporting to you from Sydney, Australia. Here in Sydney for the premiere screening of Disclosure Day in my home country, as the world packs cinemas to watch Steven Spielberg's latest UFO blockbuster, already being hailed as his best movie in decades. Real-world disclosure is happening in real time.
We here at NewsNation have been at the forefront of driving that conversation with a series of history-making whistleblower interviews and countless reports on this subject. And now, even the US government is pulling back the veil on what it really knows, as the Pentagon fulfills a directive from President Trump to release declassified UFO videos, audio recordings, and documents.
We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally trending #1. Can you believe it?
The new material, military UFO footage and astronaut audio recordings, captivating the entire world and inspiring an even more aggressive push from some in the Congress, the so-called UAP caucus.
We are no longer asking hypothetical questions anymore. Congress is requesting specific records and videos. These agencies and contractors know that we know that they exist, and we're going to get them released.
We're up against corruption. We're up against a cover-up. This thing's been covered up at least since 1947. Dadgummit, the public deserves the right to know. It's your dadgum tax dollars. It's not about little green men or flying saucers. It's about what are we spending all these millions and possibly billions of dollars on that these idiots tell us don't exist. And then yet we turn right around in the skip and then they tell us they do exist. This is a cover-up. You all know it. We know it. We demand the answers, and dadgummit, we're going to get them.
Many of the president's team has been kept in the dark by high-ego, politically appointed actors, both because of incompetence and malicious intent, has subverted the president's order on this issue.
That's David Grusch, the Pentagon whistleblower whose interview with me in 2023 thrust him into the public spotlight as an advocate for government transparency on UFOs. Now working directly with the Congress to investigate what's really going on.
American people deserve more than vague denials and selective releases of prior administrations, to include through troubled organizations such as ARA. The topics here that we're discussing today go beyond life in the universe. There are serious homeland security and airspace safety issues. There are relevant counterintelligence and technology protection issues that must be taken into consideration. For decades, unknown objects have freely operated in restricted airspace in large metropolitan areas and critical infrastructure, and the agencies responsible for securing the homeland cannot adequately defend against it. This is a serious national security issue. So the time has come to stop asking the public to trust secret conclusions. Instead, provide an honest accounting of what it knows, what it's done, and what has been withheld. God bless America.
In this special hour, we're taking you on a journey to how we got to this point in the UFO story. From landmark events to the present day, we're sharing behind-the-scene moments from my biggest interviews, shedding new light on our reporting process and reminding you just how far we've come to stop the stigma, ridicule and taboo for those brave enough to speak out and search for the truth. After all, even Steven Spielberg himself, in a brand new interview with NewsNation, is now saying he believes we are not alone.
There's enough circumstantial evidence right now that exists, even with the latest tranche of files that have been released by the Department of War, the Pentagon, that yes, I believe that it's true.
My interview with UFO whistleblower David Grusch for NewsNation catapulted the conversation forward in 2023, when he uttered these now famous words.
For the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. He just responded, he just reported. That's all it was. Yeah. That's all that they did, basically, for the whole documentary. As far as they revealed to me.
There's going on to me about how, people are coming out from the shadows, annoyed because her hair changed through the sequence.
Yeah. I've no
Show and tell, take one.
Audio ready? And now you're about to meet that man for the very first time in this exclusive television interview. Welcome. Have a seat. Maybe start off telling me your name and who you are.
My name is David Grusch. I came from a blue-collar family in Pittsburgh. I didn't have the money for college. Always admired people in uniform. And I've always wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. 18 years ago, I got an Air Force scholarship for physics. I originally commissioned on active duty in the Air Force, served 14 years in the Air Force.
I look at this photograph, Dave, and I see a very proud officer.
I was getting promoted to captain when I was deployed.
And you still love your country, don't you?
Absolutely.
A career intelligence officer, Grusch spent time on the ground in Afghanistan and other places he can't mention, before rotating back to Washington.
I was an intel officer for the U.S. for 14 years. My last position, which I left in April of 2023, I co-led the UAP portfolio for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and some of the highest officials within the Department of Defense and Intelligence community used to call on me to advise them on some of the hardest target sets that the country had.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
But before we move to modern day, let's zero in on the point in time when David Grusch says the US government first became aware of non-human intelligence, NHI, interacting with this planet.
So let's start from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. You say it's a 90-year
cover-up?
Just about, yeah.
90 years.
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
It's long been known that the regime of dictator Benito Mussolini documented numerous UAP during this time. This internal memo from the Italian secret services includes crude drawings of the UAPs. It's true, it's real.
Yeah, that actually happened. The Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945, and the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
After my conversation with David Grusch, a NewsNation producer travelled to Italy and investigated his claims. My colleague Susie Pinto visited Magenta, Italy in an effort to speak to locals about the story, with limited success in our effort to corroborate among the locals. The oldest man she was able to speak with, a lifelong resident of 70 years old, wouldn't have been alive during this alleged 1930s government cover-up. He said he hadn't heard the tale. All living witnesses, perhaps lost to the ages.
I wonder if anyone has even gone through everything to see if there is something in writing related to UAPs from that time period.
Brian, I'm sure there's a long line of historians and scholars who want to get into those archives and actually dig through.
Our colleague also spoke with representatives from the Vatican about claims of UFO proof in their archives. A Vatican source with access to the archive did a search on behalf of NewsNation and says they found no listed reference or mention to the alleged incident in Magenta or any communication of it to the Pope, according to Vatican archive records. So it seems the Church's official party line, nothing to see here.
I thought, the seminal event was, like, I guess Roswell in 47, sure. And turns out there were real things that happened prior to that.
Well, speaking of Roswell, it's funny you should mention that. We've got this photograph, of course. Mm-hmm. You know what that is, don't you?
Yeah.
This is the poor bloke who was asked to pose with what was represented by the US Air Force to be what was recovered from Roswell. Grusch says shortly after the dawn of the atomic age, another major crash recovery took place. You've probably heard of it. What can you tell me about the Roswell craft?
Fortunately, those details were not approved for me to talk about right now.
This much we know. In 1947, an object crashed in the New Mexico desert near the town of Roswell. The Air Force recovered material described as metallic and rubbery, though the government changed its story as to what it was, calling it a flying disc at first, then a weather or spy balloon. It just read ridiculous to me that the US Air Force had changed its story.
Yeah, and they added additional elements over time and tried to conflate additional programs to explain some of the events.
We are now prepared to play it for you. It contains references to sighting not only some particles, but as well as an unidentified object.
A group of Americans who definitely had something to say about what they saw, NASA astronauts.
This is Houston. Say again, 7? So we have a bogey at 10 o'clock high. Is that the booster or is that an actual sighting? What? Say again, 7? So we have several, looks like the 3 up here, actual sighting.
As part of the Pentagon's 2026 release of UFO files, included are recordings and witness statements from NASA's Apollo 12, Apollo 17 and Gemini 7 missions, during which astronauts described unbelievable anomalous encounters in space. The files even include pictures showing strange lights in space.
This is is a bookend to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, what do you know about aliens that we don't know?
Next, Steven Spielberg and stars of Disclosure Day react to the UFO files.
Plus, there's a NewsNation cameo in Disclosure Day. We'll tell you who to look for.
It is just so quiet. It's almost very, very eerie out here in the middle of the desert.
Plus, my colleague Brian Enton takes us to Area 51 in the dead of night.
I suspect that there was something like that out there at one point because of people that I know have seen it.
So where would they be now?
If you're out there at night, you will see these pockets of light that pop up in the darkness at places that do not exist. Something's out there.
And the legendary reporter George Knapp shares the story behind his famous interview, which vaulted Area 51 into the modern vocabulary.
What about aliens? Any of those up there at Groom Lake? I really want to steer away from that right now.
The phones go crazy. I get pulled off the set, the general manager comes back. What the hell was that? Is this for real? What did you just do?
Here's Area 51.
All right, Brian, whenever you are ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
By the way, that's Area 51 up there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's Groom Lake. That's Papoose Lake.
So where is it? Can you see it on a map at all? Any of the buildings, or is this all pre?
No, you can see some of that right there.
Yeah.
And that's the runway, and then those are some of the buildings from when that photo was taken. There is an entrance to Area 51 from here. And we've been up there to do stories on other matters. And the Department of Energy staff is always funny. They would just say, just don't look that way. Just look this way. Like, and of course I look that way.
Area 51 is about 150 miles outside of Las Vegas. We're on our way there now on a highway actually called the Extraterrestrial Highway. And this is a route that George has taken dozens and dozens of times over his career. It's not exactly an easy place to find. You can't just Google Area 51 and figure out where the entrances are. You sort of have to know what to look for. Okay, so we made it out here to Area 51. It is so eerie and quiet out here. We had to go down this long, windy dirt road off the main drag, the Extraterrestrial Highway, to get out here to the entrance. You really cannot get very close. Behind me, about a quarter of a mile, is one of the guarded entrances. There's barbed wire, there's armed guards there. We're pretty sure that they definitely know we're here. Trip after trip through the Nevada desert, George broadcasted the closest photos we've ever seen of Area 51.
These photos, never before shown in public, are about as close as anyone will ever come to seeing what the place looks like again. The dry bed of Groom Lake, corrugated metal buildings, a 3-mile-long runway, and some highly sophisticated radar and detection equipment. It's been known by many names over the years: Dreamland, the Ranch, the Skunk Works. If ever there was a place to test a secret new technology, this is it. And that's exactly what's been done here for decades. Area 51 is where Francis Gary Powers and the other U-2 pilots were trained in the 50s, and where the U-2 itself was developed. The SR-71 spy planes that spotted Soviet missiles in Cuba in the early 60s were also developed at 51. 51 is where stealth technology was nurtured, where Star Wars devices are still tested, and where all manner of CIA monkey business has been plotted and refined. The CIA built it for use in the U-2 program. This is rare footage taken from Groom Lake of some early tests. Current warning signs indicate it's an Air Force facility, but all branches of the military have used it, along with most major defense contractors. The common thread has always been EG&G, which has had the contract to operate the facility since the beginning. What goes on there today? Plenty. Highly placed sources say the base employs about 1,800 people. One of their main missions is to evaluate Russian defense systems, equipment that's in the hands of unfriendly nations like Iran and Iraq. Another program at 51 is the stealth helicopter, although the technology isn't far along. As for flying saucers, the military admits it has built these unmanned craft. It may not be a coincidence that the Air Force's only unmanned aerial vehicle squadron is based at Nellis. Whatever's flying around out there still attracts visitors from all over the world. It's still newsworthy in Europe?
Yes. No, also in Europe, Area 51 is well known.
And this is all closed off, this whole area?
Yeah, it's a secure facility. I mean, they used to occasionally have tours out there, but it's kind of hard to get in there now. So.
Do people live out there at all, or are they all commuted?
They have a little town where people will stay for a short period of time.
Our report set off a UFO stampede that is yet to diminish. Tens of thousands of people have trekked into the desert hoping to see a UFO, inspiring the extraterrestrial highway and creating a new industry for Tiny Rachel, which has become a UFO merchandise center and a hub for saucer watchers.
I don't think there's any secret flying saucers at Area 51. I suspect that there was something like that out there at one point because of people that I know have seen it.
So where would they be now?
Well, either they moved them further out into the Nevada test site. If you're out there at night, you will see these pockets of light that pop up in the darkness at places that do not exist. Something's out there.
After the sun goes down, it is a different vibe out here. It's almost totally pitch black. If we switch to the night vision, you can see better out here. I've never really experienced anything quite like it. There's no city lights. The military base, Area 51, is behind me. It's just wide open. The noises are interesting because it's obviously nature noises. You can hear the crickets. But then we've also heard military aircraft for the last probably hour or so. Obviously doing some kind of training missions. You can hear the planes flying overhead. You can't always see them. Sometimes there's flashing lights, sometimes there's not.
There's a movie right there to the left. See the left side of the frame?
And there's also been some other lights that have sort of popped up over the mountains and also in the brush.
Light just turned off again.
Ryan Enton, braving the deserts near Area 51 for that report. It followed my interview in 2023 with David Grusch that helped spark this new era of interest. But in the 1980s, it was reporter George Knapp with KLAS Las Vegas who broke open the story of Area 51, unmasking its secrets to the world thanks to a series of historic whistleblower interviews, starting first with John Lear, who claimed to know what the military was secretly doing at Area 51. Then this set of landmark conversations with Bob Lazar.
In the spring of 1989, I'm anchoring the 5 o'clock news, and we would have a 5-minute nightly interview segment, a live interview with somebody on the set. Our guest on this particular day canceled at a last minute. I'm thinking, who could we get to fill this? I called up John Lear. I said, you said you had a guy who was going to work out there and maybe work on flying saucers in the desert. Can we talk to him? I don't even know his name. We put a silhouette, we created a silhouette interview. He used a pseudonym, and out this story comes.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs, that are out there of extraterrestrial origin, and they're basically being dismantled. Some are, well, in various stages of completion, built from other parts, and they're being test flown and basically just analyzed. Couldn't our government have made them as opposed to getting them from some alien beings? Totally impossible. The propulsion system is a gravity propulsion system. The power source is an antimatter reactor. This technology does not exist at all.
He said, well, this is technology that we do not have. We were reverse engineering it, and I didn't know what that meant. I'd never heard of it before. Taking it apart, to figure out how it works and to see how we might either be able to duplicate the technology or defeat it if we had to fight against it. I mean, we couldn't get away with it now. We'd done no vetting at all, had no business doing it. He tells me this story. The phones go crazy. I get pulled off the set and pulled into the news director's office. The general manager comes back. What the hell was that? Is this for real? What did you just do? I said, look, I don't know if it's real. I have no idea. We just wanted to do an interview, but I'm going to find out.
Tonight, we're going to delve a little deeper into the subject with the man who was the impetus for our reports in the first place, Bob Lazar. Bob, good to have you here. A thumbnail sketch of yourself for those who might not be familiar with your background.
Lazar was a young scientist who claimed to work at the secret base called Area 51 near Groom Lake, in an especially hidden area called S4, where Lazar claimed crashed UFOs were stored.
Actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs. This came from somewhere else. I mean, as bizarre as that is to believe, but I mean, it's there. I saw it. I know what the current state of the art is in physics, and it can't be done.
This is one of George's reports from 1989 about what exactly Lazar says he saw.
According to Lazar, his employer was the United States Navy. He says he and other government employees would gather near EG&G, fly to Groom Lake, and then a very few people would get into a bus with blacked out or no windows and drive to S4.
When you get off the bus, what do you see?
It's a very interesting building. It's got a slope of probably about 30 degrees. Which are hangar doors, and it has textured paint on it, but it looks like sand. It's made to look like the side of the mountain that it's in, whether it's to disguise it from satellite photographs or what.
He says he was never told exactly what he'd be working on, but figured it had something to do with advanced propulsion. On his first day, he was told to read a series of briefings and immediately realized how advanced the propulsion was.
The power source is an antimatter reactor. They run gravity amplifiers. There's actually 2 parts to the drive mechanism. It's a bizarre technology. There's no physical hookup between any of the systems in there. They use gravity as a wave, using waveguides, almost like microwaves.
It took a while, Lazar says, before he actually saw one of the flying discs. However, there were hints everywhere.
Right, they had a poster, and it looked like a commercial poster almost, like it was lithographed and you could buy it at a Kmart or something. But they were all over the place, and it had the disc that I coined the term the sport model was lifted off the ground about 3 feet at area S4 on the dry lake there, and the caption on the bottom said "They're here," and those are just all over the place.
Later, he got to see the real thing.
When I was let in, it was the first time I saw the sport model in the hangar sitting down, and I was told they could have walked me in the front door, but they purposely wanted to walk me by it. I was told not to say anything and just keep my eyes forward and walk past the disc into the office area. And I did, and as we went by it, I just kind of stuck my hands on it just to run it alongside the thing, and that was about the smallest time. After that, I got to see it actually lift off the ground and operate.
But you also, in between that, you saw more than one.
Yeah. The hangars are all connected together, and there are large bay doors between each one. And there were 9 total that I saw, each one being different. Like they had the assortment pack.
One of the 9 flying discs he says he saw at the base, which was designated S4, looks exactly like this UFO photographed in Europe. Lazar called it the sport model.
I gave everything simple names. There's the top hat one, and the Jello mold, and the sport model operated without any hitches at all. I mean, it looked new.
Lazar agreed to undergo a polygraph exam as part of this report.
Did you knowingly lie when you said you had actually seen anti-gravity propulsion in operation?
No.
Polygrapher Terry Tavernetti runs a corporate security operation and is a former Los Angeles police officer. He put Lazar through 4 tests and concluded there was no attempt to deceive.
And I left there thinking that I feel we do have some credibility to what the subject had to say.
Area 51 and UFO fever were captivating the country, who may desperately have wanted to meet Steven Spielberg's 80s classic E.T. in real life, hoping that if aliens are really here, they'd be as peaceful as in the famed director's film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. hoping to avoid the type of non-human intelligences present in a non-Spielberg 90s flick, Independence Day. But as Will Smith was taking the box office by storm in the 90s as an alien-destroying fighter pilot and Man in Black, the largest mass UFO sighting in American history unfolded. Hey Lynn, how are you? Good to finally meet you at long last. Dr. Lynn Keaty's a physician. So what's she doing at a UFO museum? Well, she's one of the many Arizonans who witnessed the most famous mass UAP sighting in the state's history, the famed Phoenix Lights incident of 1997. She spent the years since making a scientific case that it defies normal explanation. This series of sightings took the state by storm on March 13th, 1997, when thousands of witnesses across hundreds of miles reported anomalous objects in the sky. Some people saw a structured craft, not just lights.
Oh yes, either V-shaped or boomerang-shaped or triangle-shaped.
Take me to the 13th of March, 1997.
About 8:30 that evening, I saw lights pop up, 3 lights, far north, and about 20 to 10, suddenly I see 6 lights pop on at a distance. I run out there with my video camera, and as I'm fumbling to get it focused, these 6 lights had turned to 3, massive 3 endpoints of a V or triangle.
How many witnesses are you aware of that witnessed that event?
There are at least 10 to 20,000 witnesses. So
what were they saying they saw?
It was very silent. We have pilots and professionals that were right underneath these, what they called canisters of spinning energy, that they would look up and think that it was going to drop down on them. To date, the Phoenix Lights have never been reenacted or explained.
Ross, we're not alone. We are not alone in this universe, and it is a simple fact. And the U.S. government has been aware of that fact now for decades.
The American public, the entire planet, is being lied to by the American government about what's really going on.
I think if the American public knew just how deep this lie went, that we would have a very significant constitutional crisis on our hands.
On December the 16th, 2017, the world woke up to a bombshell. Lou Elizondo, working with Chris Mellon, had gone public with the now famous Nimitz Tic Tac video.
I contacted 3 different news organizations, and eventually the New York Times editors were persuaded they had enough to do a front-page story.
The New York Times published an explosive article revealing the Pentagon's secretive UFO program. You suffered retribution, and in fact the Office of Special Investigations in the Air Force began a criminal investigation against you, didn't they?
They did.
What happened with that?
The initial allegation was that I was responsible for unauthorized disclosure, and then I stole classified videos out of the Pentagon and a whole bunch of stuff. And long story short, the Air Force OSI came back and said, nope, actually we seized the computers, there's no wrongdoing, didn't take anything home, and he never had a conversation about anything classified. Everything's unclassified.
Publicly, the Pentagon has also denied Lou's claim that he was the head of ATIP. both in prior public statements and directly to NewsNation for this report, effectively calling him a liar and a fraud.
Take ISIS, I'll take Al-Qaeda, whatever. Those don't scare me. Those don't bother me. What bothers me is when people question my loyalty, my intentions of what I'm trying to do. That cuts deep.
Some relief finally came in April 2021, when Senator Harry Reid wrote a letter confirming Lou's role in ATIP.
It's in black and white.
In 2022, lawmakers passed legislation that called on the DoD to create a UAP office which would report to Congress. That office is now known as the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO.
Thank you to our witnesses for coming here today.
Next, Congress kicks its investigation into high gear as military pilots, whistleblowers, and journalists key to disclosure are called to testify.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years.
If you reference my NewsNation interview and I talk about a multi-decade, campaign to disenfranchise public interest.
David Grusch telling me details about what he says the government has in its possession, and the secret project he claims is operating quietly to retrieve and reverse engineer alien tech. And we go deeper into the alleged program with a first-hand witness, a man coming forward to say he's flown these missions and seen the alien tech.
Looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
And still to come, we're at the premiere of Steven Spielberg's new blockbuster film, Disclosure Day. Critics say it's his best film in decades. Do I agree?
I'd like to introduce our witnesses. David Grusch is a former senior intelligence officer with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and was a senior technical advisor for UAP issues.
In 2023, just months after coming forward with his bombshell claims, David Grusch swore an oath before Congress to tell the truth under penalty of perjury, detailing, as he did with me, a shocking allegation. You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
And he says the most earth-shattering of those secrets were revealed after 2019, when he was invited to join the UAP task force. You had the security classifications to go anywhere and ask anyone anything.
I had, based on my formal security clearance and multiple polygraphs, I had the ability to be read into any program that I needed. At one point in time, I was extremely highly cleared.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
You are alleging that the US government has been concealing the existence on this planet of alien life.
I would couch it as non-human intelligence, NHI, like we like to say in our language.
Why do you say that? Why do you say NHI?
I don't want to necessarily denote origin. I don't think we have all the data to say, oh, they're coming from a certain location.
Let me cut to the quick, though. You're saying there is an intelligent species engaging with this planet?
Yes, that's potentially extraterrestrial, yeah.
I speak for everybody sitting at home. That is a shock. You've said that the United States has spacecraft, intact craft.
We do.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my NewsNation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct firsthand knowledge and access to some of this crash retrieval, some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress talked about we're going to go to Area 51 and, and there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just, and we move like a glacier. And as soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up, but please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
In subsequent hearings, major figures whose work or transparency drove the world further down the road to disclosure also raised their hands to swear an oath.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies.
I'm George Knapp, Chief Investigative Reporter at KLAS-TV in Las Vegas. I began my pursuit of this weird mystery way back in 1987, and for 38 years, I've always approached this as a news story. It's not a matter of faith or belief. To me, it's a story.
The next step in that story, in 2024, I interviewed a man who said he was a part of the secret crash retrieval program alleged by David Grusch. We presented Jake Barber's story on NewsNation. In October 2024, an unknown man stepped out of the shadows, arriving in our nation's capital to deliver an important message about what the public calls UFOs, and the government calls unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs.
I'm here in D.C. this week to meet with members of Congress.
His name is Jacob Barber, and he says that for the past 30 years he's worked in both an official and unofficial capacity for the United States government and its partners in the intelligence community. What he knows and what he's here to tell Congress could change the world as we know it. This guy is prepared to testify that he was involved directly, firsthand, in the retrieval of these craft. How long have you known this secret about unidentified anomalous phenomena being of non-human origin?
For more than 10 years.
Of course, we checked Barber's records, and we've confirmed that he was an airman in the US Air Force, working as an aerospace mechanic in the late 90s. But as these documents show, he was also recruited into Air Force Special Operations, known as Combat Control. He says he ended up working in a non-official capacity for the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. What were you?
What was I? Ross, I was a highly talented airplane mechanic who got to deploy on a number of presidential support missions.
But Jake was no ordinary mechanic. being recruited into the Air Force's elite combat control unit meant he had a resume that reads like something out of an action thriller. Helicopter pilot, free-fall parachutist, expert marksman, and the recipient of a NATO top-secret security clearance, a legacy of his service in Bosnia, where he won an award for an act of heroism. In addition to reviewing his official documentation, NewsNation spoke with 3 former Special Operations soldiers who corroborate Barber's credentials and claims. There's no doubt Jake Barber is an accomplished helicopter pilot. This is the kind of work Barber says he did after he left the Air Force as a private contractor, working for the defence industry and the US government at a secret location he calls the Range. That's where Barber and his team were asked to retrieve downed craft, the likes of which he says were not just advanced tech the public has never seen. They were built by non-human intelligence. So tell me about the moment when you realised that you were involved in a retrieval of non-human technology, alien tech.
So it became very clear the first time our communication process and procedure was modified. And then just visually looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
How close did you get?
Well, I was a helicopter pilot and I operate with 150 foot to 200 foot long line. So I got within 150 feet of this object.
What did you see?
I saw an egg, a white egg.
Was there any visible propulsion system on it?
No, not what we would know. There's no engine, there was no thermal signature. I was operating at night when I finally came in to pick it up, so I'm working under night vision goggles at the time. And it was quite clear. I flipped them up, flipped them down, and looked at it a couple of different ways.
How large was the object?
I would say approximately 20 feet, plus or minus a little bit, about the size of a large SUV.
Did it have any seams?
No.
And it was pure white?
It was like pearly white, like a metallic pearly white, the best I could assess.
How did you know that that egg-shaped object was non-human in origin?
Well, visually, after seeing all kinds of things in my past, it was clearly something that was ridiculously looking. It's inconsistent with anything I'd ever seen before. I can also tell you that the reaction by my team, we all knew we were dealing with something extraordinary.
And at no stage were you ever subsequently told that the craft was of non-human origin?
I will tell you that during this process over the last couple of years, it's been confirmed to me by ranking members of the UAP task force that what we were working with that night was in fact an HI, and it was not a unique experience.
What do you think that object was?
I don't know. Again, I'm security and transportation. I moved it, loaded it on a truck, and it went to...
Where would it go? Where would it be taken?
It would be taken to a secure facility, but again, my role stops once I deliver it.
NewsNation has independently obtained previously unseen video obtained from a secret UAP craft retrieval program. This extraordinary footage clearly shows an egg-shaped object dangling in a sling below the belly of a helicopter.
Let's slow this down to take a closer look. That's an egg-shaped UAP suspended from a 150-foot long line. We're told the craft is about 20 feet long. The egg suspended in a cradle. And look how careful the pilot is as they bring their precious cargo into land. Let's freeze frame here to look at one of the clearest images of a UAP ever taken. This is no blurry light in a distant sky. The source of the footage putting themselves at incredible risk to record this UAP retrieval. Next, another wave of UFO hysteria as so-called drones violate military airspace and flood the skies over New Jersey and along the entire East Coast. Congress taking formal steps to organise around declassifying UFO documents. President Trump taking unprecedented action.
And exclusive stories from the set of Disclosure Day from the NewsNation reporter who's in the movie. Popcorn, beer, what could possibly go wrong?
And at the cinemas, believers and skeptics alike are coming together to experience what a Disclosure Day could really mean.
It's pretty obvious this is going to be a popular film.
We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally trending #1. Can you believe it?
In 2026, on President Trump's orders, the Pentagon started releasing the so-called UFO files. Documents, audio recordings, like that astronaut tape we played for you earlier. And importantly, a wave of new military-grade videos the government cannot officially explain.
That's not the place.
In 2025, members of Congress, some informally dubbed the UAP caucus, made their efforts to push for this transparency to become official.
The biggest information problems that we've had with UAPs is the amount of stonewalling, stovepiping, and also it seems that there is this push to gaslight the American people into looking at the evidence and then not fully believing it.
Announcing formally the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. Not just on UFOs, but also the assassinations of JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. All while the nation got its newest Roswell or Phoenix Lights UFO event, the New Jersey drone flap.
I think we've seen about 40 or 50 of these drones. In fact, there's one over my shoulder right there. One after another, these drones appeared in the night sky. If you look real close, they look like fixed-wing aircraft, about 8 to 10 feet wide, colorful, white blinking lights.
That is not a plane.
Definitely not an airplane, but what was it?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something, I can't remember exactly what he said, and he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? You know, didn't want to follow it because he didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? It was just excuse after excuse, and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
You've been in the service, right?
Yeah, I was an attack helicopter pilot, Apache helicopter pilot in the Army, and I helped stand up the initial unmanned aircraft training battalion in the aviation sector of the Army. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and these guys are not doing the job they need to do to figure out what's going on, and that is the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the state police.
The government giving conflicting and unsubstantiated explanations for what the public saw. And now to the theatre for a landmark new film exploring what could be the natural endpoint on this nearly century-long road to disclosure.
Yes, I believe that it's true. The facts that are out there caught up with my movie, because my movie came first, and then suddenly we found out a few months ago that there was going to be disclosures.
Next, meet the NewsNation reporter who appears in the film.
It was really a dream come true. It was the right place at the right time, and it was just awesome.
Welcome back to this NewsNation special. I'm Ross Coulthart, reporting from Sydney. I think it's about time we heard from visionary director Steven Spielberg, who's been responsible, of course, for decades of blockbuster movies, especially on UFOs. He sat down with correspondent Jasmine Simpkins from NewsNation's Los Angeles station KTLA. We asked him, does he think we're alone in the universe?
What do you know about aliens that we don't know? Do you believe in them? And then Coleman, I want to know what you think too. Are you a believer?
Well, I certainly believe that there's life in the universe, certainly, intelligent life in the universe. I've always believed that since I was a child. But more and more, with all of the eyewitnesses and the credible witnesses and people who have been debunked because they've lost their jobs because they've blown whistles about this subject, and all the people who have been sort of wronged by the powers to be, there's just too much evidence out there. It might be circumstantial, as opposed to physical proof. It might still be circumstantial, but circumstantial evidence is very effective in a court of law. And there's enough circumstantial evidence right now that exists, even with the latest tranche of files that have been released by the Department of War, the Pentagon, that yes, I believe that it's true.
Yeah. What about you? Are you terrified? Are you intrigued?
I'm intrigued. I stand out and look at the stars every night.
Do you?
Yeah, hoping somebody's looking at me like I'm looking out there. Truly, I have to believe that. I feel like it would be really wonderful, the idea that there's something out there that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like if it is true, I believe that I would be one of the people who invited in.
Yeah.
Like
Why this story right now?
Well, I wrote the story, I started writing notes about the story in 2017. So I've been in process on Disclosure Day since 2017. I found the story and wrote the story in 2023, and then David Koepp came on board the following year, and he adapted my story into a screenplay. And then we worked together on the script for a long time. So this has been in process for a long time. And in a way, the facts that are out there caught up with my movie, because my movie came first, and then suddenly we found out a few months ago that there was going to be disclosures, but not ultimate disclosures like we're aiming for in our film, but little images that sort of tease out the truth, but don't really confirm anything quite yet. And Disclosure Day is about what would happen if a very brave whistleblower basically stole 80 years of visual evidence that we have not been alone here on Earth, and threatened to release that to the entire world, and the forces that are marshaled to stop this disclosure creates a chase film, which this is from the first frame to the last.
Disclosure Day stars actor Coleman Domingo, who you heard from there, but also Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt, who tells us why she thinks this film will resonate so deeply with reality.
All of his stuff just makes me cry. I mean, it just
It's
balls.
so human. It just
is.
explores all of our most vulnerable parts. It's just so, he's extraordinary, because often you've got these really high stakes, high concept worlds, massive movies, and yet I think there's this aliveness, this intimacy in these characters that they're so idiosyncratic, they're so relatable. They're not elite superheroes. They're us.
Yeah.
With all of our downfalls in a situation where they're way over their heads. And I think those are like his kinds of protagonists. And I think these characters are very much in keeping with those classic Spielbergian heroes.
The movie's screenwriter, David Koepp, says he pored over those congressional hearings with UFO whistleblowers to root his script in reality.
There's obviously no shortage of material. If you decide you want to research UAPs, there's congressional testimonies, there's government documents dating back to the 40s. If you go back, there was a book called The Flying Saucers Are Real, by Daniel Keogh. It had a more academic title, but he actually worked for the government. And there's just there's such a wealth of material, and we decided early on that we didn't want to make a movie that said everything you thought was wrong, here's the truth. We wanted to make a movie that said everything you thought is right. What I still am longing for proof of, as everybody is concrete proof that we have been visited by the same. And that is something, though we see just the disclosure movement growing in strength and some limited disclosure starting now, I think there's still an enormous amount that's being held back.
And please make sure you keep an eye out for one of NewsNation's own, Jessica Catalia. She appears as a news anchor towards the end of the film. She got to spend time on set. She met scriptwriter David Grusch, director Steven Spielberg, and she says both of them were a dream to work with.
It was incredible. First of all, he could not have been nicer. He came in and I was sitting there along with my co-anchor in the movie, and he explained what was going on, but he couldn't give too much away. And so he said, look, you're sitting on the desk, there's breaking news, there's aliens coming in, and you're trying to explain what's going on. And I said, okay, well, you know, as a news anchor, we'd be taking notes and our producer would be talking in our ear. And he goes, yeah, do that. Great. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. Yes, we made the cut, so I am in there. Don't blink, it's very quick, but it was an awesome experience. I think the movie is phenomenal. I think everybody will find something that they love about it. I think especially right now, it's incredibly timely, and I'm so excited to have had the experience of working with Spielberg and David Grusch, and it was really a dream come true. It was the right place at the right time, and it was just awesome.
So what's my take on Disclosure Day? Steven Spielberg is a masterful storyteller. I loved the way it brought in psionics, it brought in the risks of catastrophic disclosure. I loved Colin Firth as a villain. He's a great villain. And I loved, ultimately, the ending, the finale. And I'm not going to tell you what happens because all of you should go and see it. It's a beautiful film. It's profoundly moving. I'm not going to deny I had a little tear in my eye at the end of the film because I cared passionately about the message that it delivered. And the message that it delivered is that the public have a right to know that we are not alone. It's a very simple message, and at the moment, Steven Spielberg has crafted it beautifully in fiction. What now needs to happen is government, President Trump and every other political leader that's aware of this dirty secret, they need to tell you, the public, the full truth.